best podcast, the Heidelcast.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe.
Scott McDermott, Harrison Perkins,
And
Scott Clark.
their mission to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
We'll do it live. No. We'll do it live.
Yes, we are doing it live. Good morning, men. How are you?
Doing really well.
Good morning. How are you? It's been a while.
I'm recovering. We had a big week here.
The Reformed Confession?
Yes, I'm doing that too. I'm recovering physically. We had nuptials in the Clark household on Friday. We had rehearsal, dinner on Thursday, and then Friday we had the actual nuptials, and so it's been, and then all the craziness leading up to it. So I think I'm physically finally recovered from all of that. It was a blessed event. It was wonderful, and we're rejoicing in the Lord and very, very happy for the Heidel child. And
Indeed. Yeah, that's a joyful thing.
New addition to the family.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And then Harrison was here in town.
I had a great week last week. I got to come out and do a couple of lectures for Westminster Student Association.
Where can I find these?
They'll be coming online, I will
listen
put
to them.
We will put them on the Heidel blog, listeners, so you can hear Dr. Perkins' lectures that he gave to the Student Association of Westminster Seminary, California last week. And I wasn't able to hear the Thursday talk because I had a physical therapy appointment, but
But it was worth it because now you can move.
now I can move, and I'm actually pain-free. Very thankful for that. The voice was giving me a hard time. We were in the studio yesterday, and he was making fun of me. But I feel good, and thankful for that.
What was your topic, Harrison?
So I was talking about the non-insistent pastor and navigating conscience issues
Do say more.
and just how that fits into our standards. We have the Word of God, we have our confessional standards, we have our tertiary standards, and we sign up making promises that will work within these things. And what does it look like in today's society to be a pastor who has integrity and plays within the lines rather than just forcing issues to get our way?
Scott's favorite standards are the tertiary issues.
They're actually my third favorite, but
Yeah,
that's all right.
Exactly. Don't you go to the store and buy boxes of tertiary?
I do. Daily.
Scott's tertiary, and what's your favorite tertiary?
Oh, man. There's so many, I don't even know which one to list. Of course, we're talking like BCO, right? Is that what you mean by tertiary? I like the Book of Worship, which unfortunately is not constitutional, but it should be.
Well, for now,
It
right?
should be.
Is there not an overture coming
There's always
to...
overtures. I need to go listen to Presbycast and find out what's going on in my denomination.
Well, in the OPC, we have a directory for public worship in our BCO.
What?
That's crazy. You can't have anything like uniformity in worship.
It is flexible enough that it does not end up that way.
Okay.
Principles. It provides principles. It directs
Agreed
us
set of principles,
about
yeah.
principles.
I've been in a lot of Orthodox Presbyterian congregations, and there's a lot of consistency from congregation to congregation, in my experience. It seems to me. There's some variation. A lot more variety in the PCA.
Variety is a nice way to put it. That's a positive word. Yes.
What is the temperature right now in the thumb?
Feels like 19, and it is. I just checked again, and it's snowing. But it's okay because it's mid-April, which means we have another few weeks of winter to go.
So, listener, as you're hearing this is May 3rd, 2025, but as we're recording it, it's mid-April. So that's that's a little unreasonably cold, which means it's probably also chilly for you in the Detroit metro, Harrison.
It is. So I think it's 37. I woke up missing California this morning for sure because it was 60s when it was cold out there. It was funny. People would say, "Are you going to be cold if we sit outside?" No,
No,
I'll be fine.
Well, not to mention, Harrison, in Michigan yesterday, we hit 70 degrees.
I take credit for that. I brought it back with me.
Well, you should have kept it back instead of sending it back and then causing it to snow up here.
In Escondido right now, it's 58 degrees and mostly cloudy with an expected high of 68 degrees later in the day.
What a great radio voice. Did you ever report the weather?
I did a lot. It's going to be 63, mid 60s for the rest of the week, and it won't really get up to 70 again until Saturday. It'll be sunny and Saturday in San Diego County.
You guys have a hard life there.
Plan your weeks accordingly. Take a jacket with you, and you can wear it in the morning, and when you go to work, and you wear it on the way home, and you won't need it so much during the day.
We hate you.
Hey, do you have an opinion on the difference between fog and marine layer as a San Diegan?
I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion. I mean, fog is, I guess, a little thicker than marine layer. Fog obscures your driving. The marine layer, not so
Marine
much.
layer
So
usually
they
burns
are-
off as the day goes.
Yeah, marine layer burns off, and fog does too.
Except for when it
typically.
doesn't.
So, occasionally. I mean, I have been in the Thule fog, the Thules up in the Central Valley, and that is truly impressive. That makes you want to just pull off the side of the road, turn off your lights so that some idiot doesn't hit you from behind. Get way off the road because you can't see anything in the Thules. I don't like that at all. But we don't get a lot of fog here. But the marine layer, we get that, particularly in the spring and early summer. It rolls in, burns off by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and then rolls in again at night.
Is it substantively different? I was having this discussion with the family that was hosting me while I was there.
I think it might depend on where you are. If you're on the coast, there might not be that much different. But inland, I'm 18 miles inland, and it is not nearly as heavy here as it is on the coast.
They're closer to the coast.
So it may be that on the coast there really isn't much difference, but seems to me fog is typically thicker. But maybe we're talking about degrees.
You are correct.
I am?
Fog is denser.
Oh, interesting. That's how it seemed to me. How was your week, Scott?
I don't remember.
You've been very busy, is what you said to us when we were talking before.
Did I say that?
You did 2 funerals. I'm sorry for the loss in the congregation.
Losses.
Losses.
Proper grammar.
It's hard. Yes, we worked out a grammar problem before the show too. So it's higher than I, not higher than me. We learned. So I won't throw anybody under the bus.
You can throw me under the bus, literally, if you'd like to. But don't hurt your back when you do it.
Yeah, I'm not throwing anything these days, and somebody else is going to have to do that. I'm done picking up things. Help me move this. No, I'm not. I'm not moving anything.
Stand strong and stand literally still.
Yes, I'm learning how to strengthen my core and flex my core, press my ribs towards my belly button is what they say.
It's been a while since I had a core.
Well, you better. I can tell you, start working on it now, because if you don't, you'll pay for it.
Well, I do stand-ups every day. So
okay.
I stand up from my seat.
I was going to say stand up, so I didn't.
Yeah, there's a.
That's when you're sitting and then you stand up.
Well, there's a particular way now I have to do it. I have to do it in a very precise way. They've changed the way I walk, the way I stand, the way I stand up and sit down, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
But it's good. I feel better. I don't have any pain. I'm very, very happy about it.
Well, you look good. But looks can be deceiving. That's what they say.
Yeah, well, your camera is not really all that.
That's true. I think it
spiffy,
might be closed.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So we agreed we're going to talk about favorite Easter candy, or Pascha. The ancient Christian word for Easter was Pascha, P-A-S-C-H-A. It was the Christian Passover, is what they said. That was the argument they were having in the 120s, AD 120s.
The labels in the grocery store have not yet caught on to that, though, yet.
Give them a couple of years. It's only been 2000.
So what is your favorite candy celebrating the Christian Passover?
The Reese's eggs, without a doubt. I mean, because, so much more peanut butter. What other answer is there?
Well, I agree with you, Harrison. That is the best Pascha candy. As we always grew up saying, This is our favorite Pascha candy.
You can even get Resurrection Sunday Reese's.
Yeah, so then you'd have the Pascha bunny.
Yep. Me and my Greek cousins, we'd always say, let's eat our Pascha candies.
Me and my Greek cousins?
Oh, sorry, thems. Or I.
My Greek cousins and I.
My Greek cousins and I.
My
yes.
Greek cousins and I.
Yeah.
And then I and my Italian cousins would be like, what's Pascha? We do Easter.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I left and said, I'm just going to be Protestant.
Oh, stop that double talk. I want to hear the Lone Ranger. He's talking pig Latin. I don't know what he's saying.
I think my favorite Easter candy, Pascha candy, is the chocolate bunny. When I was a kid, it was milk chocolate. We didn't have dark chocolate, I don't think. I'd never heard of dark chocolate too. Maybe sometime in the, 1980s, maybe.
It was a good decade.
Sort of became a thing. Now I very much like, if somebody offered me a dark chocolate Pascha bunny, I would take that, and I would eat that with not all of it now, just a little bit, like maybe one ear today, one ear tomorrow, something like that. Might take me a few weeks to work through a whole Pascha bunny.
Most of them are hollow now. It's less than you think it is.
Oh. No, I would. If somebody's offering me a Pascha candy, it should be a solid dark chocolate Pascha bunny. Remember those pink sugar things? Did you ever have that when you were a kid? The pink sugar.
Are you talking about Peeps? The little chickens?
No, they were shaped I think they were shaped like eggs or bunnies or something. And they were just sugar. When you bit into them, they just melted. There wasn't anything.
I think you're talking about Peeps, and they are so gross.
Yeah, maybe.
They are the worst.
Yeah, I don't even like thinking about them.
They are reason enough for me to oppose the church calendar. Get rid
Here
of
I
Peeps.
stand. I can do no other. Peeps are an abomination. The Babylonian captivity of peeps.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Well, speaking of peeps, did any peeps reach out to us this week?
Oh, very good. Very good. Yes.
That's the smoothest we've ever been.
That is a professional segue.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Clark.
All right, that is our signal to open the coffer. Let me reach in there. And the first one is from Anonymous. And it says, Dr. Clark, I hope this finds you well. It does. Thank you very much. Last year, as an elder in our Reformed church, I taught an adult Sunday school class on the Nicene Creed. When teaching about the incarnation, I was very careful to make the distinction between person and nature using Berkhoff's systematic theology for the distinctions, which is a good idea. You'd think that's very wise to do that. And the person of Jesus Christ, born of the Virgin Mary, being the eternally begotten Son of God. Well done. I've also read None Greater by Matthew Barrett and All That Is in God by James E. Dolezal. Those are both very good books. I am very conscious of maintaining the classical doctrines of God and the Trinity formulated in the Nicene Creed and held by the Reformers. With that said, every Sunday I read a commentary on the Heidelberg Catechism. Oh, good. There's a new one coming, Lord willing, in November, so you can add that to your collection. For the current Lord's Day, this year I'm using Our Only Comfort by Dr. Fred Closter. And then he's attached as a PDF 2 paragraphs from Dr. Closter's commentary for Lord's Day 15, question 37. And he highlights one particular sentence. And the sentence is, quoting now, and that means the divine nature of this one person also suffers and dies, exclamation point. Using your hermeneutic to keep reading, thank you for paying attention, the explanation leans heavily upon the Chalcedonian perspective of the one personhood of Christ. May I impose on you to please look at the attached PDF and offer your thoughts. So, all right. I know Harrison was animated by this question and dove into it. So, what do you make of the question and the answer and the issue?
Well, I appreciate what the questioner brought to us and the concerns he had, and I think that the source he was using did not do a helpful job in explaining these issues. Now, it starts on he, as you mentioned, he sent us a little snippet out of this commentary, and it starts and says, "It is always the one person, the mediator, who does what he does, sometimes enabled by his divine nature and at other times by his human nature." I'm not sure that I like enabled by.
Oh.
I might be just blowing this whole thing out of the water.
According to.
Oh, that's good,
According
Scott.
to.
Well done. But
Yeah.
that's how I took him when the opening sentence. I thought, well, that's pretty good. But carry on.
Yeah, and so the next sentence, it is always Christ, this one person who acts. Exactly right. Exactly right. That's on the mark. But then sort of jumping, so he seems like he is setting up a pretty standard issue from the definition of Chalcedon, right? That it's one person and two natures, and that's exactly what we want to do. But then he goes on to say, after the incarnation, his divinity does not operate in isolation from his humanity, nor does his humanity operate in isolation from his divinity. It is never correct to say that Christ's humanity did this while his divinity did that. He, this one person, does it, whether able to do it because he is divine or because he is human. Well, the last sentence is correct, but he's lost track of that according to phrase that Scott gave us. And he's talking about nature's doing something rather than a person doing something according to a nature. So when he comes to say that Christ dies, and is it permissible, is it appropriate even to say that God died on the cross? Well, we can say that God the Son died on the cross according to his humanity.
Yeah.
But he blurs this to talk. I mean, it seems like he's confusing nature and person. He's saying the right things about person, but then connecting the issue to nature incorrectly, as if the nature is the person. A person acts according to a nature, not these natures do things apart from a person. So we shouldn't say that Christ died on the cross according to his divinity. We can say God the Son, the person, God the Son, died on the cross according to his human nature.
Yeah. What's true of the natures is true of the person, but it's not true that what is true of the person is true of the natures.
So the Chalcedon gives us this, right? It says, at no point was the difference between the natures taken away through the union, but rather the property of both natures is preserved and comes together into a single person and a single subsistent being. And so we can talk about the person doing both things that seem, appropriate to actions of his divine nature and actions of his human nature. We can talk about the one person doing that, but we shouldn't ascribe to one nature the properties and attributes of the other.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that are proper to the humanity, certain things that are proper to the divinity. Is that what Chalcedon is saying?
Yeah, I think that's right. And, Chalcedon is explicit about not confusing the two natures, not separating the natures, but we do, and Chalcedon says this explicitly, distinguish the two natures, right? And then there are the four adverbs that Chalcedon gives us to help us as sort of a rule to know how to relate the two natures. So the errors here, listener, are these, the two great heresies. One is Nestorianism, whereby the two natures are separated into two distinct persons. And, like we say back home, like two pigs in a burlap bag, right? And that's not helpful. That's heresy against the ecumenical faith. Jesus isn't two persons, he's one person with two natures. So the formula is one person, two natures, and anything you say has to agree with that formula. One person, two natures. The other opposite error is Eutychianism, whereby the two natures are conflated, into one nature, right? And that's sometimes also called the Monophysite heresy. And Jesus doesn't just have one nature; he has two distinct natures in one person. And that's what we're trying to hang on to. And so when Dr. Kloster says in his commentary, and that this means the divine nature of this one person also suffers and dies, it seems like he is conflating the two natures. He's attributing properties of the humanity to the deity. And it would be the parallel error to that would be to say that the property of the deity is communicated to the humanity, so that, for example, if the deity is ubiquitous, the humanity is also everywhere. That's what ubiquitous means, everywhere. And that would be a mistake.
It's not helpful to talk about nature's dying.
Yeah.
The person dies.
Yes.
According to a specific nature. And
Yes.
it seems like I imagine he is trying to achieve the right thing, to be charitable and sympathetic.
He's probably reacting to the American tendency towards Nestorianism. Most American evangelicals are unknowingly Nestorian. Probably that's been my experience in reading and talking with people, catechizing people over the years, and so probably I wonder, hypothesize that over the years, in trying to help people overcome this tendency, maybe he's reacted in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I think there's just some confusion of categories. I think it just wasn't lined up, because even later he talks about how when Christ died, the disembodied person went to heaven, to paradise. That's an odd way to say that.
It is.
Because what he should have said is Christ's disembodied human soul went to heaven, because he did. I mean, I wonder if there's a accidental Apollinarian error here too, that the person of the Logos has replaced the human soul, because it's the human soul of Christ, which is part of his human nature, that went to paradise.
I'll put my cards on the table here. I was disappointed in this commentary when it came out. I was very enthusiastic about it, because for years and years I've used a syllabus that Dr. Closter had compiled with a lot of really wonderful historical information. And so I thought, and years ago, somebody told me he's writing a commentary on the Catechism, and I thought, great, he's going to publish all of this research he's done, and this will really help us, read the Catechism in its original context. And instead, the CRC who published this commentary did something rather different. And frankly, I was not very satisfied with it. It was one of the reasons I did my commentary, was because I thought, well, somebody needs to do what I thought Fred was going to do. And so I didn't make a lot of use of the commentary per se. Occasionally I checked it to see, but I probably should have checked it more frequently than I did, because I don't remember reading this at all. And I think I would have interacted with this had I seen it. What I did was I spent most of my time really interacting with Olivianus and Ursinus, and occasionally I looked at some other things to interact with, but I didn't want the thing is already too massive as is.
It helps to interact with the authors
of
the document. That's
what
really
I thought.
helpful.
So I guess unintentionally, I mean, I wanted to do a historically grounded piece, but I guess it's now that I see this, I think, okay, well, maybe maybe it's a good idea I did it. Sometimes I have thought, well, why did I do all this? So anyway, reader, I'll let you figure out what do you think about that. But
there may be some listeners who are not aware of the definition of Chalcedon or the formula of Chalcedon.
Then this is what you should do. Go to heidelblog.net/creeds, heidelblog.net/creeds, and there you'll see the English and then Greek and Latin for the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, the definition of Chalcedon, which was a product of the Council of Chalcedon, 451 AD 451, and it's a wonderful statement of the Orthodox doctrine of the two natures of Christ and the one person of Christ. It's very brief. It's basically a paragraph, and marvelously compact, but very rich, and a wonderful guide to what Scripture says, what the Church believes about the one person and two natures of Christ.
And I think somebody recently did a little short 2-minute video on the Creed of Chalcedon.
Yeah.
And it might even be on your website called the Heidelblog.
Yes, our website, heidelblog.net, recently posted a little 2-minute video about the definition of Chalcedon. So go check that out if you're not familiar. And then also on the Creeds page on the Heidelblog is the Athanasian Creed, which is even more fulsome because it has a section on the Trinity and then a section on the two natures. And it basically covers everything in this area. You can also look at heidelblog.net/confessions, and you can see what the Reformed churches have confessed about the two natures of Christ. That's in the Heidelberg, that's in the Belgic, that's in the Westminster Standards, and there are other confessions there too as well, restating the historic, ancient ecumenical consensus of the church on these things.
And if you want to go to heaven, you have to memorize the Athanasian Creed by heart.
Well, I don't know about that. But
Well, that's kind of what is implied in the confession itself.
Whosoever will be saved. This is what you have to believe. It doesn't say you have to memorize it, but it does say you have to believe it.
Did I add that?
Yes, you did. I think you added. You put a fence around the law there. So,
Oops.
oops.
Pharisaical tendency. Harrison, did you have a book you wanted to plug?
No, I was actually going to do the opposite and ask if anybody has book recommendations about Chalcedon. That would be very helpful. There's a lot of, an explosion of books about Nicaea.
Yeah.
Releasing and that have released and some staples there. But if you guys, or even if readers know good stuff assessing Chalcedon, that'd be a great help to me to know.
Yeah, Scott has a volume in his hand. What is the title there, Scott? I can see it's From Nicaea to Chalcedon. Who's the author of this volume?
Yes, From Nicaea to Chalcedon, A Guide to the Literature and Its Background. Francis M. Young with Andrew Teal.
Yeah.
I actually just got this, so I don't know if it's...
Yeah, Francis Young is very, very good. So that's excellent. There is a resource page. Shocker, right? There's a resource page on the Heidelblog. It's a collection of commentaries. It's a bibliography of commentaries on the ecumenical creeds and Reformed confessions. And there you'll see reasonably comprehensive bibliography. So I hope it's on the resource page, heidelblog.net/resources. We'll check after this recording and make sure that it's on there. But I know there is a resource page that you can find by searching Bibliography, Creeds, Confessions, and you'll find a bunch of titles there, and that will be helpful. One that comes to mind is Gerald Bray's volume. Also, J.N.D. Kelly has a volume that has backgrounds on the creeds. Those are the sort of my two go-to volumes, and those will get you started. But there are other volumes, like Francis Young's.
Grillmeyer is the big one leading. So it's multi-volume, and I think the first volume gets up to Chalcedon.
Okay. I might not have that.
I've been enlisted to do an essay about covenant theology in relation to Chalcedon. And so I'm asking this out of biased interests. If there are standard works, good books on this, I'd be interested to know.
I'm searching here. Yeah, Bibliography of Confessions and Catechisms is the document that you're looking for, and it's there. I don't know if it's on the resource page.
It's not. I've been trying to find it.
Yeah, it's on there. It's on there. It's under resources on baptism, worship, and other topics. It's actually number 2 on the Heidelblog resource page. Heidelblog.net/resources, number 2, a bibliography of confessions and catechisms. So it's right there. And when you click on that, there's patristic symbols and creeds is a link. Lewis Ayres, Nicaea and its Legacy. Gerald Bray, Creeds, Councils, and Christ. That was the piece that I was thinking of. Gerald Bray, We Believe in One God. Let's see. Oh, Mike Horton, We Believe. That's on the Apostles' Creed. J.N.D. Kelly, Early Christian Creeds.
Retrieving Nicaea.
That's about Nicaea, not about...
Oh, I thought we were just listing all the creeds.
Yeah, there's Francis Young, From Nicaea to Chalcedon, and then Francis Young, The Making of the Creeds. Harrison, you need to email me this Grillmeyer title. I want to add that to the bibliography.
Yep, will do.
All right, great. When we come back, we'll answer a second pressing practical question.
Hi, it's the voice here to say that I've seen Clark limping around lately, and it motivated me to get back into the gym and to pump some iron. For a disembodied voice, my bench press is not too bad, and my squats are even a little better. However ripped I might get, however, the doesn't mean that we don't still need your help to keep the HRA strong by making a tax-deductible donation by clicking on the donate button or by sending a check to the Heidelberg Reformation Association, 1637 East Valley Parkway, number 391, Escondido, California, 92027. Now I just have to wait for that guy to stop looking at his phone and get off the treadmill.
Call or text now 760-618-1563.
Treadmill guy. when you're done with the treadmill, get off the treadmill and don't stand there looking at your phone. I haven't actually been in a gym like that for a long time.
Probably don't look at your phone while you're running on the treadmill either.
Oh, well, as long as you're running, I don't care what you're doing while you're running.
I just assume if you're doing that, you won't be running very long. You'll be lying flat on your face, shot off the back of the treadmill.
No, well, I mean, I've watched television or whatever, stuff on the phone while I was on the treadmill. Oh, all right. Let's...
You got some letters.
Thank you very much, Mick. This one is from Neil. And he says, Dear Dr. Clark, first, thanks again for all the work you do. It's amazing. Well, mediocre, but there's a lot of it, so it seems like maybe it's better than it is. What do you think of using the Bible app on my phone during the scripture reading in worship? I use Bible Hub mainly because of the quick link to Calvin's commentaries, though I don't use that during worship. I think it's a matter of adiaphora, which means a thing indifferent. However, some seem to think it has negative vibes. Others don't know what I'm reading, taking the easy way out to find the passage, etc. I searched the Heidel blog, but I don't see it addressed. It may be too petty to address, and if so, so be it. Thanks, Neil. Well, that's an interesting question, Neil, and I don't know that we're all of one mind here among the Super Friends. So I'll go first. I use my phone all the time during worship because I like to look up the passage in a variety of different translations. And I used to carry a bunch of books with me to church, and it was actually somewhat problematic. You know, I had my Latin Bible, my Greek Bible, my Hebrew Bible, and what have you. And it was somewhat challenging. I've known people to have all three bound together in a giant volume. In fact, I know you can get the Greek and Hebrew bound together, but I know the person who had it. It's actually a notable person whose name you would recognize, not from Escondido, but anyway. So that's how I think about my phone. Although I understand that other people may look and say, "Well, why is he looking at his phone?" I think that's a potential issue, but for me, I find it extremely useful to be able to look things up. I can look at the creeds. I can look at the confession, and all kinds of things. So I'd hate to personally give it up because I find it very helpful. So for example, when the pastor's reading the passage, I often read it in Latin. That helps me. Or sometimes I read it in Greek or Hebrew or whatever. And that's my rationale for doing it. And, in Southern California, it's a very sort of high-tech area. Everybody's got a phone or a tablet or something. And so maybe it would be different if I was looking at a tablet, which I do sometimes bring to a tablet, although my tablet's sort of large and bulky. So that's my thinking.
So my thinking on this is if you can guarantee that your phone isn't going to go off and your text-to-speech isn't going to go off mid-sermon.
Is everybody dumb?
Yeah. Well, that's right.
Because I now say, in the announcement time, it says it in the bulletin, please turn off or silence your devices.
Yeah.
Because it's almost every other worship service that someone's phone goes off, whether it's emails, texts, phone calls, or text-to-speech.
Yeah.
Even if it's the Bible, that's great. I'm glad you're reading the Bible, but I don't want to hear it after I've already read it and I'm now preaching on it. Recently, as somebody was coming up for the Lord's Supper and they were taking the elements, their phone rang. They answered it and had a conversation from the Lord's table all the way back to their seat. And the conversation was about where they are, where they were, and why they couldn't talk.
No.
and that don't worry, they'll be there for lunch, but they'll call later.
Oh my. Well, that's just really bad manners and thoughtlessness.
So we perhaps have different perspectives on this being in a low-tech
Yeah.
area.
To be fair, they could have done that even if they had no Bible app on their phone.
Yes, exactly. That's just someone who's never had any sort of tutoring about what to do with your phone and when and where and all of that sort of thing.
If you could promise me that that won't happen and that you're not looking up scores or news.
I'm mortified by the idea that my phone might go off or, tablet might make noise. So I always assiduously turn everything down. Now, Mrs. Heidelcast had her phone go off, make a noise or something a while back, and she turned 3 shades of red, but I just laughed at her.
I'm always worried about mine going off too,
Oh, yeah.
particularly as the preacher. Like,
Don't bring it.
yeah.
I usually leave my phone at home on the Lord's Day for that reason, because I am afraid to be that guy. And I can't get mad if I'm the one doing it. Here's one other element. You brought up a tablet.
Yeah.
Okay, so back when I used to be in the pews, if anybody in front of me had a tablet,
Yeah.
the light would shine on that tablet and then hit my eyes. And no matter where I looked, I couldn't get away from this glare off the tablet. And I know they didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
But it was the same people, and it was every time, to the point where we had to move seats.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
And we became very front row sitters because of tablets, which is fine. I like either the back row or the front row. But just be aware, if you're holding your tablet up in the air like a dork, you're probably getting a glare off the lights.
Oh, my. Well,
And it's hitting somebody in their eyes like a laser.
okay. Well, I think that's a real issue. I sit all the way in the back. I sit in the balcony.
I remember
in the
that. I remember
in
you
the
did.
back. So just to stay out of people's way, and and maybe keep an eye on things, make sure everybody's okay or whatever. So, but I think you raise really good points, Scott. I mean, I think that's worth thinking about. We want to make sure that we're not being a distraction, and that we're not causing people to stumble in any way. Not that a tablet or a phone is going to cause somebody to apostatize, but that it might distract them and say, oh yeah, I should check and see what the sports scores are or something like that. I mean, there are some technical things you can do. On my phone, I hit focus, and then that turns off all the incoming messages and noises and stuff. And then I always mechanically hit that switch so that it silences, and then I push the volume down both internally, on the screen, but also on the side on the button, just to make sure that it doesn't make any noise. So, because we get to, like the other day, we had a 5. It turns out it was a 5.3. Initially reported as a 6.0 earthquake. So I forgot to mention that. That was yesterday.
Yeah.
And,
people blamed me for leaving.
Everybody's phone went off. You could hear all over the neighborhood. They sent out an alert, and it was a noisy alert. So you wouldn't want that happening in church. So I think there are ways of mitigating that, but the light is an issue, and the temptation. I think that's a real issue too. The temptation to look at stuff, and rather than paying attention to the service.
This question brought out the jaded side of Scott.
Well,
Is there another side that I was unaware of?
yeah, and you're also a kind of a technophobe, right? A person who's afraid of technology.
I'm not
Luddite.
afraid of it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not scared of it.
Okay.
I just hate them.
Yes. Well, okay. Yeah. But you don't like technology much, and you're not invested in it. You don't see it as useful, mostly as a burden.
Indeed.
Right? Yeah. So you're somewhat jaundiced towards it already, and then you've had these
Yes.
negative
My
experiences.
eyes are
in
very
church.
yellow to it.
Exactly. So, Harrison, as a pastor and a parishioner, what do you think about this business?
I'm probably the via media on this one. I'm a little bit
Anglican, you might as well be a papist.
That's right. Yeah, on this this standing issue that has divided our communions for so long.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
I see the value. I see why some people see the value in it. I'll admit I have mostly thought about this question from the vantage of being the person, in the pastorate and thinking it would not look good were I to read a passage from my phone. And I think that that's true like even when I do hospital visits, when I go into people's homes, I take a paper Bible because I just don't think it communicates the gravitas of, what the Word of God should bring. To read it off my phone, I kind of get bothered and irritated when I see people go up to a lectern or a podium or something and yank out their
pulpit?
phone. Or a pulpit, yeah. I have yet to see a pastor do preaching by, pulling out his phone.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
I wouldn't do it.
It would
the phone.
irritate me.
But okay, Father, forgive me for I have sinned. I have done all of that. I lecture in class from my computer, and then I have to, instead of, we don't have whiteboards really anymore, so I write on my iPad with a pencil, and it gets shown on a screen. And then when I guess that's neither here nor there, but when I preach, I usually take a hard copy Bible and a hard copy of notes just in case, but I've often preached from my iPad.
So I think this is in some ways splitting the difference, but it is phones that I have particularly in mind here.
So the size of the device makes a difference.
Yeah, and maybe that's silly. But I mean, so in a classroom lecture, if somebody's using their laptop, that would not have even made me skip a beat personally. Yeah. I think the difference between a tablet and a phone is a tablet looks like you meant to have it there.
Yeah.
You've made a decision. This is how I'm doing this. With a phone, it looks like you're casual.
Yeah.
And you're just...
So if I bring a PC to the pulpit, you're cool with that?
I'm cool with
All right.
If that means personal copy of the Bible.
So I think I pretty much always have a hard copy of the Bible when I'm preaching, but because I like to have the Bible in my left hand usually while I'm preaching.
There is something about this that I want to say. It's probably better to use a hard copy of the Bible, but I don't have moral or even principle objections. We probably are more attentive. And there's something about spatial placement on pages that helps us digest.
Yeah.
But I don't want to insist on that as if I've got lots of reasons that would hold up under scrutiny for saying that I think it's best. I can't hold anybody to it.
Well, one of my students was talking to me about preaching from Logos, and the things that the features he was pointing out were kind of interesting, and I haven't really looked into that. So I thought, well, I need to look into that.
I'm terrified of that. I think if I try to, I don't mind if people preach from tablet, partly because you usually can't see that anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever you have in front of you that's underneath the lip of the pulpit, like I don't care if it works for you and it's not a distraction for other people. But I'm just terrified of it because I'm like, what if my battery dies? What if my screen poops out? What if, I hit something and actually turn it all into Japanese? Like,
sounds like a nightmare of mine.
Yeah.
Well, I always when I do it, it's always as a PDF, so you can't mess that up. And now, if you're using Pages, as long as you don't turn on the edit function, you're safe too that way. But I have all my translations and stuff, and I can do more on the tablet than I can do with my handwritten note. But usually, my sermon outline I do by hand, and I know that for the sermon to come within the approved time limit, it has to be one page in my little notebook that I have. I have a shelf now full of notebooks that I've filled up over the years with handwritten notes and sermon outlines and whatnot and book outlines and all that stuff. And so, and I bring all that. I bring the notebook and I bring the Bible. But
I think the spatial thing actually is a major component of how we remember things. I mean, even my sermon notes, right? I want it printed out because where things have fallen on a page helps me remember it that I'm not just, if it's just a scroll, I'm going to have to read it line by line because, I haven't digested what's on the, page 2 kind of thing.
Yeah. I'd rather preach extemporaneously or just with no notes or anything than a computer or a tablet. That would scare me to death.
But for people in the pew who are consuming, it seems to me that morally, using a tablet or a phone is indifferent. It's a matter of charity, I think.
Yeah.
So if what you're doing is adversely affecting other people, and you become aware of that, people make you aware of that, then I think you have to adjust accordingly. Right? You have to love your brother as yourself, and you treat him the way you would want to be treated if you were in that situation. So that's the rule of love, and that's how you ought to proceed. And but all things being equal, if it isn't causing other people to be adversely affected, then it seems to me it is adiaphora. It's morally indifferent. And maybe then it comes down to wisdom. Is it a wise thing to do? And I think we had some good points here made. Scott's made good points. Harrison's made good points of why maybe there are reasons why it may not always be wise to be doing that. So I sometimes use my phone, the same way I use my tablet, because the tablet is large and kind of bulky, and so I don't always like to bring that. Yeah, that's helpful.
Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow for more from the Heidelcast, brought to you by Heidelberg Reformation Association.org. Don't forget, when the coin in the coffer clinks, the cost of bandwidth shrinks. Copyright Heidelberg Reformation Association. All rights reserved. This is a Heidel Media production.
The best podcast